All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining episode 3 of the Budo Combat Podcast. I really appreciate you guys joining. It's us three here, myself, Par, and Chris, aka CJ, easy, breezy. I didn't put 100% into that, but that's cool. I'll give me another shot at that, and I'll make sure that it's a valid and reputable and worthy introduction next time. So
I like that. You're gonna make sure to make sure. I'm gonna say that more often.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
I'm chilling.
I'm recovering, man. Doing what I can do to feel normal again as much as possible, but it's tough.
Dude, yeah, we missed you on the last episode a week ago. We were just talking earlier. We really appreciate you being able to join this one.
No problem, man. I'll try to do what I can do,
Yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit about, I guess, why you weren't able to attend last week's podcast? I mean, that was an important one in particular. Par and myself were talking. We gave a slight update with regards to health and wellness goals and just general updates. It was a little bit ad hoc, not fully structured, but we felt like you would be a good person to talk about some of those topics.
Yeah, pretty much. I came with I was feeling very sick. This was kind of really out of the ordinary, out of how I normally feel sick, and I've been dealing with like chronic sickness for 2 years now. So this was outside of the symptoms that I've been experiencing on a daily basis, and it was like a terrible fever I've had, right? Mm-hmm. So I just couldn't brush it off, and this lasted for like a week, and I was wondering what the cause of it was, and a family member did actually test positive maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. So that was my brother, and he did visit my home. So we we just hung out, did normal stuff, and then pretty much a few days later, I started to feel high fever, and I was getting headaches and stuff. So I just couldn't get out of bed.
I see.
So I really couldn't do anything at all. Pretty much.
So that the initial symptoms started about a week ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you were, I guess, I presume the first several days. Sorry, I had some squash earlier. I think I got the squash in my throat right now.
You got squash in your throat, eh?
Yeah, careful though, I'll squash you.
Oh!
Yeah, so I presume the first several days were probably the hardest or most intense, at least.
Yeah, definitely, man. This was outside of my normal symptoms, and my normal symptoms are actually really bad. So this added on to it exponentially. Yeah, I was off, man.
Yeah. I mean, Par and myself weren't sure if you were able to make it, if you were going to be able to make it today.
Yeah.
So I know you're still not 100%, but with that said, still very much appreciate you being able to join us, man.
Oh, no problem.
Sure.
Man.
Yeah, you provide a lot of insights in different ways. So I know regarding the martial arts topics that we're going to talk about today, what's sort of hot in MMA news. I don't know if you had a chance to review what's happened in the last week, but today we will be talking about Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. We talked about that matchup last week on Saturday, but that's taking place tonight. So very important matchup. Another one will we had some more thoughts on things to review and discuss that are noteworthy. So we'll be reviewing that. We'll be reviewing, Brandon Moreno versus Figueretto.
Deiveson Figueiredo, that's right.
Yeah, and those are the two main
Number
ones.
three.
Number three. And in addition to that, so yeah, Chris, I don't know if you had a chance to review sort of, since you've been sick in the last week in particular, if you had a chance to review what's been happening there.
Honestly, I haven't been able to watch anything or keep up with the UFC fights.
It's all good. We'll catch you up.
These were happening. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these ones are worth reviewing for sure, and Par's been keeping up with it as well. And these press conferences have been pretty interesting lately, in particular these two matchups. So beyond mixed martial arts hot news, we also will be talking about gratitude. What are we grateful for day to day, especially given some of the challenges that sort of situations and circumstances that we encounter in our day-to-day lives, some of the speed bumps and valleys that we sometimes get into outside of our peaks, that remind us that to appreciate certain things in life and to have gratitude, because that's an important part of being the best version of ourselves in many ways, to have gratitude. So a key theme for us to review. And finally, again, martial arts related, the next topic, not necessarily MMA, but I wanted to get a little bit into martial arts traditions, and just the whole like bowing culture, and how are these things arbitrary or are they important, and why have they continued to be maintained along the way. So those are the main topics that we'll be reviewing on this call. Did you guys want to review anything else beyond that? Did you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're going to also try to link them. Like, we're going to link the MMA to the gratitude to the martial arts traditions to see how they would apply in those certain scenarios. And we'll get into the nitty gritty shortly.
Yeah.
Right.
And so just getting right into the MMA news, the hot topics. Francis and Cyril, Par, what do you think, man? That's happening tonight. The greatest.
Oh, this is the most exciting fight, heavyweight fight ever. That's my opinion, not my only opinion. That's Dana White's opinion, everybody's opinion right now. It is an amazing matchup. It's also got a lot tied into it, which could affect the fight. Like, there's the debate about the sparring footage, which was talked about in the press conference. There's the wanting more money, the contract negotiation that Ngannou is going through. There's the drama Ngannou had with his ex-coach, right? And then the most important of all, which we have to discuss, is the style matchup, and if both participants are ready for each other's style, and if they prepared accordingly, and if there's going to be any surprises. So I would put it into those three categories. If anyone watched the press conference, it's interesting, and we can elaborate on that further. It actually leads to a lot of the, what my predictions are for the fight.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I saw the press conference last night.
Nice.
Yeah, so some more stuff came out of it. So Cyril's coach had released sparring footage of them from a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it seemed like that's where there was a lot of back and forth and opinions between Cyril and Ngannou. So Ngannou, I think he was a little upset because they shouldn't have released that footage. That was personal, that was private. And so that footage kind of showed Cyril getting the upper hand. But Ngannou made reference that he had knocked out Cyril with a left high kick, right? And that's where they went back and forth during the press conference. So Cyril was calling him a liar, essentially. And then I think you were saying or Ngannou changed up his story afterwards.
Yes. It's really interesting how he kind of changed it and covered it up. So like first he said, I knocked you out. And then Cyril's like, no, 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 you were there. Be honest, be honest. You knocked me out. You knocked me out. And then eventually Ngannou was like, well, did you leave the sparring? He's like, yes, yes. Cyril was like, no, no, no. Like I said before, the coach said it was too hard sparring. So the coach said to stop the sparring. I did not leave. Okay. And then basically I got the impression that he didn't actually knock him out. Right, that's my impression of it. I don't know what you interpret it as, because I don't want to bias you. But what did you think, Aziz?
Well, I can't recall if I think Cyril was trying to get it out of Ngannou's mouth for Ngannou to say, yeah, Cyril, you were on the floor, you fell on the floor and you were knocked out. I don't think Ngannou was able to officially admit that.
Yeah.
So he changed his narrative to, yeah, but you couldn't continue sparring at that point. Therefore, it's a KO. He was really pushing that KO theme for a long time. Cyril was challenging it. Ngannou changed his narrative and said, oh yeah, you couldn't continue. And Cyril said, well, I couldn't continue because the coach wouldn't let me continue at that point. The coach mentioned getting out of hand. And then he referenced how Ngannou he needs to work on controlling his power. And this is something I've seen personally. I'm 6'4". I hover between 185, 195 pounds. I tend to get paired up with heavyweights. I mean, whenever I train in Muay Thai or whatever, or even boxing. So as a 185 pounder, I am sometimes, paired with the 265 pounder, easy. And I move pretty quickly for a guy that's 6'4", and I can easily look a lot bigger. I look like I weigh a lot more than I actually am. But anyway, for whatever reason, I get paired with someone almost 100 pounds more than myself. So, I mean, yeah, I do find that the heavyweights, for the most part, I mean, in general, I'd say like most Muay Thai practitioners and boxing practitioners, I don't know, maybe I just haven't competed at the highest level, but a lot of them do sort of lack control. Most practitioners tend to lack control, especially because I implement a karate pace. I have a foundation in karate for 8 years of traditional karate experience. So we try to master control. That's part of our progression system. You have to show mastery of control. So over the years, I've developed this ability to go fast, but not hard. And so I call it the karate pace, to go fast, in and out, and throw the punches and do like a light touch and start landing and get those points against a Muay Thai or a boxing practitioner. I've studied boxing and Muay Thai and practiced in them as well. But for them, they tend to want to pick it up a notch, right? But they're not able to decouple speed from power. So I don't know if it's an ego thing where, I don't know if it's an ego thing on their side. I don't know if it's a lack of control thing on their side. Firstly, heavyweights do carry a lot of power. When they throw shots, they don't think they're going hard, but they do go hard. They can easily go hard. But that is a skill, to be able to go fast and land those points without going hard. And so I think Francis, he made those errors. 100% I can see Francis making those errors. And Cyril seems like the kind of guy, is the kind of martial artist where he can control himself. We see him regulate that very often within a fight itself. And I'm sure within training too. So I think Cyril made a very good comment there about Francis trying to, he should make an effort to that's an improvement area for Francis. Control his power during training. Francis's response was, he trains with girls and girls don't complain. That's sort of like deflecting it, Yeah,
Like you're gonna obviously modulate to your opponent, right? Like you're obviously gonna modulate towards your opponent. Like you're not gonna hit the speed and the power that you do with another heavyweight than with a girl. So it's kind of like almost like dismissing like something that you're not supposed to go 100% in sparring. But the other thing we have to keep in mind is Francis, like he has a phenomenal amount of power where he might not even notice his power. So like he'll notice it against if he's facing a lightweight or a girl, he'll notice that, right? He'll keep it more mindful, right? But like if he's going against another heavyweight, especially one that's might be getting the better of him, he might not notice that he's going that hard, right? It's just like a survival, kind of like a survival mode. And like, once I discuss Francis's story, you'll understand a little bit more about his psychology, right? Like, the thing is, though, like Francis's power is so crazy. Like, Francis's coach on the MMA Hour was discussing about it, the Ariel Helwani show. He was discussing how he took a bat to the back when he was in college. I know it might have been a while ago, and the back broke, and he didn't flinch. He took a leg kick from Francis, and he couldn't walk for weeks with pads on. So that's the other thing. Maybe the Francis's power is just, you know, it's hard to control that amount of power. That's the other thing to keep in mind. It's not easy if you possess that much power, which gives a lot, gives it might give us clues to, what could happen and potentially happen in this matchup. But the fact that Cyril is aware of it, he's felt it, it might also give him the understanding of what to watch out for.
Yeah, actually, good call. Yeah, Francis. I believe he clocked in. There was some measurement that was done regarding, the hardest punch in the world. And Firaz Zahabi was talking about it on his recent podcast as well. So apparently Francis Ngannou has like the hardest punch in the world, the most powerful punch in the world, even beyond the other boxers. So yeah, I think it's one of those intrinsic things, similar to how, I talk about our friend Kareem. When I spar with Kareem sometimes, he has the natural touch of death for sure. Even when I tell him, we're going soft, we're not going hard. Like his soft punches have the ability to knock people out.
Wow.
So, I don't know if you knew that about Kareem.
I didn't know.
Because I'll tell him that, like, yeah, go fast but not hard. And yeah, it takes him some time to decouple. But yeah,
It definitely is a skill.
Maybe some people can't decouple it. But Francis, I feel like, not to be like overly critical or anything, but maybe I have a feeling that he would be better, he would get better, his performance would improve, his training would improve if he would become a better fighter, a better martial artist overall, if he was able to regulate and train that way. But I don't want to, everyone's different, everyone has great intrinsic qualities, and if someone's good at something, I don't want to tell them, don't do that thing anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, all those points are valid for sure. The man's got the touch of death.
He does, and I don't know, maybe that was a lot earlier in his career. I know it was like it was a couple years ago, right? And like even his MMA coach right now said that he's brought in like the best kickboxer in the world just to see his footwork. So maybe that has changed, right? As you progress, more and you learn more, like how to spar with people. I think what it really was is Cyril was the new guy in town, right? Cyril was like almost like Francis's replacement. So we know that from Francis's story, which I will discuss shortly. Whatever you want me to, I can discuss it. But that coach basically raised Francis to the fighter he is today. He was an immigrant that basically had several trips through major hardship, was living homeless, and he was basically like groomed him, right? for lack of a better term. He groomed him, and it's almost like this new kid in town. So it's kind of like, I think from what my perspective is kind of like showing like, oh, I can still, destroy your new toy, there's nothing like me, kind of like that kind of thing, right? Because there's still pride and ego with that, right? Like if someone trained you and groomed you, it's like almost like a father figure, right? So that's part of the reason why I think this drama has escalated, because he left the MMA factory. Francis left and went to Vegas, and I don't think it was like a crazy thing, but it seemed like they parted ways and it didn't end perfectly, right?
Yeah, that's right. So Francis, what was it? Just the adversity that he had to face to go from Cameroon to France, just that trip alone, right?
Oh,
You're privy to that, right? Chris, are you aware of that, Francis's journey from Cameroon to France?
Uh, I'm actually not aware of that. No, I didn't look into the history of Francis Ngannou. But
if you guys want, I can give you guys a little bit of a detailed summary about it.
Yeah, I think
sure,
so.
Okay, so I don't even want to be smiling for this because it's crazy, but it's just like I'm only smiling because of the adversity and because of what he had to go through to 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 like achieve his dream. He was in Cameroon, and growing up, he was very poor, even for over there standards. Everyone worked as miners as children. There was no other choice, right? He had to leave school to do that, especially the poorer kids. So he had to leave school because he couldn't pay for supplies. So he was supporting his family on his own. His dad was very abusive towards his mom, so they had to leave. And he had to raise his family by himself. So he was doing the mining for the longest time, and he was always alone in his life. He was alone as in his childhood. He got picked on for being less, even over there. He got picked on, for having less. And then even what's worse is like he started to see Mike Tyson. He watched Mike Tyson on a YouTube link, and he's like, "This is what I want to be. I want to be a boxer like this." And he got ridiculed because over there, like it's almost impossible to think someone from over there with no infrastructure can become a heavyweight boxing champion. So everyone like kind of like laughed at him. So he had to hold on to his dream alone. His family, his friends, no one actually believed in him and his dream. They ridiculed him. So he still had to defend it. Like imagine everyone that you told your dreams about, they just ridiculed it, and they had kind of a good reason to ridicule it too because of the conditions, right? But he held on to it tight, and eventually he basically left Cameroon, not telling his family because he didn't want them to have the burden of knowing that he might not make it. He left to try to go to a Western country, to France. That was the destination. And that journey is just harsher than anyone can believe, right? So, first, what you have to do is you have to go through the deserts, through Mali, no, through Morocco to Mali. And to do that, the conditions are harsh. There's only a limited amount of water and food you can take, right? You're cramped in a truck, like a Toyota, a truck, on the back. No room, have to be in tight. Less limited water. Several days and days of journey. You have to stop to try to find food in the desert, to find water, right? You finally get to your destination. Then you have to go through the jungle in Morocco. You have to live in the jungle, right? So living in the jungle, surviving, hunting, and if they catch you, they basically drive you all the way back because obviously they have a lot of migrants coming from those areas. So they'll drive you, instead of putting you in jail or putting you back, they'll drive you all the way back to the desert. So he had several iterations, I believe 6 times, where he had to do that. Go to the jungle, try to climb this fence of Mali, which has guided helicopter guidance, has like snipers, has everything. And you'd have to climb the really high fence with barbed wire, right? And there's like 7 miles of fences. It's not just one fence. So he'd have to get over that, and then he'd have to go on a life raft, right? And the one of the first times he went on a life raft, there was a huge tidal wave. So basically, half his boat was lost, and he had to basically go across the ocean without paddlers and with his hands. And basically, he's like, how people don't even survive with paddles to go across. That's what he's thinking. And these guys want me to pull with my hands. And his mentality, he was like, we're going to make history. We're going to be the first people that will travel across this ocean with our hands, paddling with our hands. That's the kind of there's going to be books written about this, right? That's the kind of mentality he had to hold on to his dreams. So he did that 6 times. That whole trip, like going back to being sent back to because he got caught, getting sent back to the desert, going through the jungle, going through the fence of Mali, going through the ocean, until finally Red Cross rescued him. He ended up in France where there was homeless shelters, but he didn't want to deal with the negativity of the migrants that came from Africa and all those places because they thought France was going to be different. Right, but it's any country where you go to and you're an immigrant, especially if you're not legal, right? You cross illegally out of force purposes. It's the conditions are not going to be right for you, right? So instead of dealing with that negativity, because that's what he called it, he decided to sleep in a parking garage, and he said that was one of the most happiest moments in his life because he was making one step progress to his dreams. Right, and he didn't have to worry if at night someone's going to catch him. He could sleep restfully. So it just tells you, you know, how much a dream can get you, like how much it can change your life if you have a goal and when you work towards your goals. So to me, that perseverance shows me that what kind of conditions he had to go through and why he's seems to be still in survival mode. Like you could understand, like someone who's been through that, they're constantly in a thing for survival. So that's why, like, I've seen some podcasters and some others saying, well, Francis was lying, he was caught in a lie. You know, like for someone like that's been through that kind of stuff, you know, you have to survive. So that's something like that just doesn't go away. That kind of experience, you're groomed to do whatever you can do to survive. That's why he's bringing up this, trying to come back with his own take on the sparring footage, which could be considered as exaggerating, but that's his way. And it also tells me that we know that Cyril is a legit threat to him because why would you have to exaggerate something? Maybe he has to prove it to himself. I don't know. But I just think that you cannot fully judge him, you know, if he's trying to, you know, exaggerate because of what he's been through. He's just trying to survive. And he's a survivor. If there's a definition of survivor, that's him.
Yeah. Damn, that was a pretty awesome rundown of the story of Francis Ngannou leading up to becoming a martial artist and training in boxing. And of course,
Crazy.
He came to train boxing, but
yeah,
when he went to the MMA factory, the
exactly.
head coach there told him, no, you should get into MMA because that's the growing sport. And MMA's worked for the head coach and helped him get to where he's at. So
Yep.
I'm glad the head coach told him, you know, let's keep working on the boxing, but let's go beyond that and do MMA altogether.
Yeah, he led him on the right path. So, like, maybe that's why he's upset with Ngannou, because he deserves a lot of credit, right? Like, if he was sleeping homeless, I guarantee you there were nights where he helped him out. He lent him money. He probably fed him. Let's be honest, right? Like, I don't know for sure. I don't know the whole story, but like, you know, after you did that for somebody, you would feel some sort of type of way if they just like left and like didn't communicate with you again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, loyalty is a very important attribute and quality, especially within the martial arts And that's especially the case in Japanese martial arts. I mean, I believe they had maintained a pretty good relationship for the most part, perhaps leading up to this fight. Since the coach there, what was his name again? Do you recall his name? The
Oh
head
man,
coach of MMA Factory.
I should know, but I forgot, to be honest.
Well, he pretty much supported Francis's decision to go to Vegas. He basically like facilitated that. Francis's main goal, I believe, was to go to the US.
Yep.
It is what it is in the end. But regarding the KO, his claim that he left high kick KO'd Cyril, I don't know if we can attribute that to lack of, language, English language. Perhaps it is subjective regarding what a KO actually is.
Yep.
Just like how it might be subjective regarding what a teammate is, because that was another
Yes.
thing that they butted heads on, Chris, because they ended up training together. So Francis trained at MMA Factory in France for some time. Then he left his coach, went to Vegas for a bit. He lost a couple fights against Miocic and Derek Lewis. Then he came back to train with his initial head coach in France. And his head coach told him, okay, if we're going to train together, you got to listen to me. We're going to do it this way, and we're going to focus on conditioning. And during that time when he was back for that training camp, it may have been maybe 2 or 3 training camps. Definitely several months were spent together training with Cyril Gane. Now, eventually Francis Ngannou went back to Vegas and I guess parted ways with his head coach in France from MMA Factory. But during the press conference, there was this heated, opinionated, conflicting viewpoints between Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane regarding were they ever teammates. So if you sparred with each other and helped each other prepare for different training camps against different opponents, were you really training partners? So that's another one of those, what do you call it, subjective items, similar to the KO, the left kick KO.
Yeah, as Francis worded it, maybe we need to change the definition of teammate. If we change the definition of teammate, then that would apply, I guess.
Yeah. So in this case, Francis said no, that we were not teammates. But for the head kick KO, he was saying, yes, that was a head kick KO. So maybe we need to redefine what KO is. Like if you stopped training after getting hit, and Cyril did admit that it was a hard kick and it hurt, but it wasn't a KO. And maybe they were, but I don't know. I don't think that's a KO personally.
Yeah, maybe a technical KO if they were actually like, but it's sparring, right? It's sparring. It's not.
You're trying new things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's subjective. Like I can understand why Francis came back because the coach, and we're going to touch on this in terms of martial arts traditions. The coach normally, from my understanding, most gyms in the United States or Canada or Western nations, I don't know about the other countries, but my understanding is that it's not traditional to release sparring footage before a fight, right? Like that's not respectful. So I believe, from my understanding, and I could be off, but my understanding of how the traditions of MMA is a new sport, but like the traditions of MMA, you're not supposed to release sparring footage. So Francis is kind of like, you can kind of understand why Francis is like,
exaggerating,
being like, well, if you're gonna release this, I'm gonna say this. You can kind of understand it, even if it could be considered a lie. You can understand kind of where he's coming from. Like it's something that's supposed to be sacred, right?
Yeah, and that's also why I feel like it wasn't really an English, a language thing. In some ways it is more of a logic thing, I would say, not necessarily a language thing or an interpretation thing. Semantics, right? This is all semantics, which I don't think I would sort of brush off I try not to get too much into semantics personally, unless it's, I don't know, if in this case it's considered important. But Francis, with that said, Francis's English has improved drastically. So Chris, if you watch the press conference, you'll notice that his English is next level now, compared to
That's
like a
awesome.
few fights ago.
He destroyed that reporter that said that tried to twist around his words about saying it's the easiest fight. He actually said Stipe is the hardest fight he's been through, and the reporter was like saying, "So, because of that, you're saying that Cyril Gane is an easy fight?" So Francis basically shut him down pretty well.
Yeah.
It was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. That's for sure. And I believe the whole world should be looking forward to this one.
Oh
Both
yeah.
super soft-spoken guys as well. Francis, I've sort of learned. I've started to really like Francis's personality over the years too. I think he used to sort of like talk a bit of trash or try to instigate a little bit more, right? Back in the day, not even that long ago, but against Miocic, for example, the first fight, I do recall he was poking at Miocic. Miocic was brushing him off. But I think in his last couple of fights, like, I'm not saying this is the way it should be, but this makes me like Francis a little bit more as of recent, because he's not really that much of an instigator. And even during this press conference, like, all these semantics aside, they did seem to have respect for each other and were calling each other brother. And so yeah, two good guys up against each
Yeah.
other.
I actually, honestly, like in terms of like the way they present themselves, like I think Cyril Gane is amazing. If not a little bit better, because he's like, okay, big brother, like some wholesome moments there.
Yeah.
And just like, just like being respectful and trying to not, go against the guy in an unprofessional way. He was just trying to be real with Francis. And, like I just feel like Cyril really like has really good mannerisms, right? And uh, compared, I'd say even more so than Francis. Not that Francis is bad or anything, but like the way Cyril carries himself, he seems like a really genuine guy. And you know, it could be just attributed to the hardships and the upbringings differences. Like I really sympathized with Francis's journey, being like an immigrant from a war torn country myself, right? And I empathized with it, or like it really got me, because even I hadn't had an experience to even close to what you know Francis had been through. So like, and the way he held on to that dream, and he did it all by himself. He didn't have people bringing him. He didn't come at an early age. He decided on a goal in his 20s, and just carried himself, and now he's carrying other people. He's starting gyms in Cameroon for kids. Like it's just like, obviously, like if you've been through that, but like you're still able to lift other people, it just shows you're also a great person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lots going on here with this fight of the century. Probably the greatest heavyweight fight since. What was there another greater heavyweight fight than this?
You could say Ali Frazier. You could say some of the Mike Tyson fights,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Well, there was
Tyson.
a lot, like,
There's a lot, yeah.
there was a lot happening during those times. That's for sure.
But MMA, definitely, I think it's the top, from my opinion.
Yeah, definitely two of the most skilled up there, and also at the same time, huge contrast between the fighting styles and abilities and characteristics.
Yeah.
But yeah, two of the most dangerous heavyweights. Like, you can't put Brock Lesnar in this category. I think, I guess Stipe Miocic was labeled the GOAT heavyweight in the UFC as of recent. Fedor Emelianenko
Oh,
was up
Fedor,
there.
yeah, he's
Was up
amazing.
there. But these guys are, well, yeah, they faced good competition at the time. There's no comparison. You can't really compare the old with the new, right? The new have stepped on the shoulders of the older giants. They've learned a lot from them.
Evolution, right? It's evolution of the game.
Yeah, they wouldn't be, the newer guys wouldn't be who they are, where they're at, if it wasn't for the older guys. So no, I don't want to make those comparisons, but let's say in modern times, yeah, I mean, Ngannou has
Sorry, go ahead.
Ngannou has surpassed Miocic, in my opinion, from skill, definitely in stature. His base attributes, his intrinsic attributes of build, knockout power, athleticism. He's only getting better. So Ngannou, yeah.
It's intriguing, this matchup.
Cyril Gane, probably the most technical, and in other ways, the most athletic. In other ways than Ngannou, the most athletic heavyweight regarding how he moves. So I haven't seen Cyril really make any mistakes, man.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Every fight. And it's not just you saying this. It's not just me saying this. The great Daniel Cormier said that he makes no mistakes, right? That's a 2-time champion saying that, and that tells you a lot. Yeah. But the other factor we got to consider, and a lot of people are discussing this, is will all the distractions that Ngannou is going through, the contracts, the fighting with the boxing fights, with Tyson Fury, maybe Deontay Wilder, the prospective contract negotiations because his contracting is ending, the drama with his ex-coach, all these coupled, are they going to affect Francis's performance? And my opinion, because of this guy's, what he's been through, if he loses, I don't think it's because of these distractions. I'd say if he loses, it's just due to the skill of Cyril Gane.
Yeah. Well, I just think even if he does lose to Cyril Gane, I mean, we're speculating right now. We're putting the cart before the horse, but I think it would be worth having a rematch regardless. I mean, I don't know how it's going to go or how it will go.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever Ngannou loses, I think he had to go through those losses to become even better. Oh, he got paralyzed, right? After his fight after his loss to Miocic the first time, he got paralyzed against Derek Lewis, but now he's better than ever. I would.
Oh, you mean like he was frozen in that fight? Like it got to his head?
Yeah. He stopped throwing shots. But I also think that he's got the Canelo mentality where Canelo learns, he absorbs the qualities of all of the opponents he faces. So when Canelo lost to Floyd Mayweather, Canelo sort of adopted that Philly shell pretty nicely right after that. And Canelo, whenever he faces an opponent, he seems to take something away from them and integrate it within himself. So I just think this time around, I think if Ngannou loses, he's going to come back stronger than ever. But we're speculating that will happen at the moment.
CJ, based on what you've heard, okay, maybe you don't have all the analysis. This podcast is for everyone, for people that aren't up to date or just trying to get into the MMA news, and for people that are more savvy to it, and for people that are just more technical, like Aziz, that may not know all the finer details of the backstories. So we have all three groups represented. What would be your pick based on what we've talked about? Ngannou or Cyril Gane?
That's really tough, man. Based on Ngannou's history, I kind of followed him throughout his previous fights, and I do know that he's really, like, he's a heavy striker. But I don't know, like, if he can go the distance, like if he probably does have the endurance now. But correct me if I'm wrong, if he used to gas early, like back then.
Yeah, endurance is definitely an issue. Like the
Yeah,
cardio?
the cardio, yeah. If he has that covered, I think like he should have a lot of like potential to win.
So you're saying early
This can
Francis
be close.
Ngannou. If it goes late, you're leaning more towards Cyril Gane unless Francis has got his cardio.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a fair analysis. Aziz, tell me where your mind and heart is at.
Yeah, good call on that, Chris. Because Cyril Gane has shown he can go multiple rounds, right? 3 rounds without slowing down while continuing to stay ahead of his opponents. Ngannou has, but however, Ngannou has gone 5 rounds against Miocic in particular, right?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, no, that was the first Miocic
Okay.
fight, but he slowed down. As Chris was saying, he had slowed down after a round and a half. And his his coach, when Francis had come back to France to train with his coach again, his initial coach told him, "Look, we're going to have to do this my way, and we're going to have to focus a lot on conditioning," because his coach knows. His coach was telling him right after those 2 fights, like, that he lost. Conditioning is important. So I don't know
And
if yeah, go ahead.
and that's why he might be upset because he may not be getting enough credit. Like he just first of all, he brought someone who's never done the sport in his late adolescence to the championship, and now he's rising Cyril Gane.
Yeah.
Right? Someone for 3 years. I know Cyril Gane's athletically gifted. The both of them are, but it takes a certain coach to do that.
Yeah. So I feel like if Ngannou wins, it'll be by KO, possibly TKO, likely in round 1, round 2. But I think Cyril is too good to get caught by anything in round 1, round 2. I mean, if anything, he might get overwhelmed with Ngannou's power, but I think he's felt that power before. I think he's anticipating it. I think Cyril wins this by decision and or possibly by TKO round 4, round 5. So let's just say, I don't know, I'm feeling a little daring right now. I'll say Cyril wins by TKO in round 4. I think if it goes to round 5, Cyril will probably coast it out for a decision. But I'm feeling something for round 4, Cyril by TKO.
I'm going to go a little bit to left field on this one. First of all, my heart's with Ngannou, just because of the message and what he represents and the fact that he is going against a lot of things right now and what he's been through. If he wins, it's going to like create such a good story. Similar, like the way Tyson Fury had a story, but I think this story is even better. Mm-hmm. But my brain is with Cyril Gane, and I think, like you said, Cyril's going to be mindful of the shots and mindful of everything that Ngannou throws. So he's going to modulate the pace of the fight. What I think is going to happen, I want Francis Ngannou to win, but what I think is going to happen, I think Francis is going to go for a takedown. He's going to do some ground and pound, and he's going to get reversed. He's going to get reversed, and Cyril Gane is going to submit him in the 4th round. That's my prediction.
Interesting.
I think it's going to go different than on the feet. I think there's going to be ground and pound, and there's going to be some more jiu-jitsu in play. And from what I can see, I think Cyril Gane has the capabilities, even though he's new to the sport, he's a cerebral guy, and I think he has the jiu-jitsu capabilities when Ngannou's tired out to submit him. That's my prediction. 4th round submission, Cyril Gane.
Wow, yeah, because we've seen Ngannou's wrestling against Miocic. Miocic couldn't take him down in their second fight. And we've also seen Ngannou submit someone on the floor too with a Kimura, right? Mm-hmm. With his raw strength in that. Similarly, we've seen Cyril get a leg lock on someone.
Yep.
Now, when we get to those later rounds, round 4, round 5, yeah, maybe someone will try to go for a takedown. Maybe it'll be Ngannou that goes for it. Maybe it'll be
Yeah.
Cyril that goes for it. Maybe, but I think when it comes to pure jiu-jitsu, and especially if Ngannou's kind of tired, I think Cerebral takes that. Just wanted to touch on the submission portion because this is MMA after all.
Mhm.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome.
Okay.
Anything else we want to review for Francis versus Cyril? And a lot's happened in the last week for us to discuss some of these things.
I think that we've touched on everything that we can.
Yeah.
There's probably more, but
pretty much.
Yeah, that was like a good rundown for sure. So another very important matchup, Brandon Moreno versus Figueretto. That's also taking place today, and that is for the
co-main.
co-main event. So there's another championship belt on the line. And is it the flyweight or bantamweight?
I believe it's 125.
Oh, okay, the smallest one, right? The
Flyweight?
lowest category.
Yeah, flyweight.
So these are the two. No, is it?
Yeah, it's flyweight. It's flyweight.
Yeah, it is 125.
Okay, very nice. By the way, I don't know if I'll be able to record this. My disk space is getting kind of full here. Oh shoot.
We'll make it quick.
All right.
Yeah,
Do you want me to start?
Let's go, man.
Okay, so Brandon Moreno, Figueredo, there is some drama and storyline behind this. Rumor has it, they had the first fight, which was a draw because of a Figueredo nut shot. It was a nut shot, and the next one was Brandon Moreno won heavily. This third fight has a little bit of backstory. Apparently, Brandon Moreno, he seems like such a happy-go-lucky, positive guy, which is why people like him, and because he's Mexican, firstborn Mexican champion. So he has a lot of support from the Mexican community, which is awesome, right? It's really good when you see these other communities have a champion, someone to cheer for. But there's some backstory behind that may show that he's not exactly perfect, and he might have done something that could be considered underhanded in a sense. So what happened was Henry Cejudo, he used to train with him, and Brandon Moreno used to stay on Henry Cejudo's couch. So there's another story where someone's taking care of someone in a sense and training them. And I think he even came up with his name, the baby assassin. I recall in one of the videos where Cejudo's hyping him up. Apparently, Moreno went to Benavidez's training camp, and before their matchup, he gave a lot of tips, or he just went there after he'd been trained, and he went to train with them. So obviously, there's a very high possibility if you're training with the rival, they're gonna ask you for tips. Maybe they'll pay for them. Who knows, right? So I don't know if that's normal in the martial arts community, but it seems like kind of an underhanded mood, which is why Henry Cejudo is now training Deiveson Figueiredo. So that's what Figueiredo's upset. Figueiredo in the press conference basically said, "I'm going to take off Moreno's head and present it to Henry Cejudo." So there's some drama, there's some hate on it for sure. So I don't know. Henry Cejudo is a master of strategy, and he's gonna help a lot. Sorry, go ahead, Aziz.
Well, yeah, I mean, there seems to be a little love triangle going on here. Sorry, not a love triangle, a triangle.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, a triangle of sorts.
MMA love triangles.
Yeah, between Cejudo, Moreno, and Figueretto. So was it Brandon Moreno was helping
Benavidez, Joseph Benavidez. Yeah.
Right. So right from the beginning, Cejudo was helping out Moreno.
Yes.
Moreno was sleeping on Cejudo's couch, and then
he went to sleep with
and then
Benavidez.
Moreno.
You started it with the love triangle talk.
Moreno went to help out Benavidez against Cejudo.
Yeah.
And now Figueretto, now that he's facing Moreno, he decided or Cejudo decided to work with Figueretto
That's
to
right.
help him against Moreno.
Yep.
So is Moreno really this, good guy that's always smiling? Are the smiling people always the good people? Here's the
Yes.
question. We sometimes get this notion that people that smile a lot are good people.
Yeah.
No, a lot of times the narcissists are the smilers. They're not always good people. But I get it.
Exactly.
It's a positive emotion. It's a positive look and feeling that makes you feel that way, likely. But yeah. So there's some bad blood happening here too, with more coaches involved. Huge fight. This is a huge one.
Oh yeah.
Chris, are you familiar with Brandon Moreno and or Deiveson Figueiredo?
A little bit. Yeah, they had like two pretty like close matches, right?
Oh yeah.
Or I would say really good matches.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right.
The first one was like fight of the best flyweight fight ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Figueretto was just killing it in that first fight, but then like some things happened. Like Moreno was able to change things around, and he gassed, and there was a couple low blows. Was it a low blow or so?
Yeah.
So it was. I mean, when I was watching Figueretto fight, especially for the first couple rounds, I mean, he still had that same swagger in round 3, 4, and 5. But I was like, damn, this guy's moving like Anderson Silva, Figueretto.
Oh yeah. He's powerful too.
And perhaps this is one of those, this is what might make martial arts so interesting. There's so many different representations of the martial arts. There's so many different like styles, I guess. Style, I don't want to use that word, but it's, what do we resonate with as individuals? Figueretto has a certain style about him, and then Moreno
Mexican boxing.
Yeah, and Moreno has a certain style about him, and a lot of it comes, there's a culture element there too. So Brandon Moreno sort of represents, he is Mexican, and his fighting style is very similar to that Mexican boxer style as well. So culture and plays a big role there too. Why do we like certain fighters, right? Do we like them because they're good fighters, or do we like them because, of what they represent? Do we like them because of their personalities and or some sort of alignment with their personality and their fighting style, which helps,
or values,
and or values, and that alignment of them being able to put their personality in action in the ring, and or because you understand this fighter where no one else understands him. There's many components, right? There's a reason why some people are called the people's champion. They may literally lose on points or lose the fight according to judges, according to those rule sets, but they still are the people's champion or the people's fighter. So we gravitate to these fighters for different reasons. Fighting also personifies our day-to-day struggles as well. Just like how sports tend to do that. Sports are a great vehicle to personify some of our struggles and challenges and emotions. But fighting, I think, is at its core. It does it the most. It personifies it well beyond any other sport. But I just wanted to mention the contrast in styles between and representation in how personalities and how these get carried into the fight, especially between these two. I was always I really like the traditional martial arts, but in MMA, sometimes it isn't. The best fighters aren't always the traditional martial artists, like the wrestlers, for example. I don't think they really have as many rituals and ceremonies that some of the more Eastern traditional martial arts have. Or the Mexican boxing styles, where it's more the heart, I would say. And we always see Marino's heart out
Oh
there.
yeah.
But with that said, I know I spoke about a few different themes here regarding smiling and its relationship to narcissism. I've mentioned the contrast in styles. Yeah. The contrast in styles between these two guys. But yeah, I don't know who to like more in this case, because Moreno, he backstabbed his old coach. Figueretto is getting back at him in this case, and it makes sense to do that. I mean, this is a selfish sport in the end. So Figueretto is just doing what he's got to do to beat, to get the upper hand, and therefore
Maybe it's giving him motivation too.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know, but you see in the press conference, like, I also don't like how Figueretto carries himself, right?
Yeah, he's very harsh.
He's harsh. He's sort of arrogant.
Yeah.
I think he just kept on calling him an MFer as well,
Yeah.
continuously, right? It's
I'm
kind
gonna
of
knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out.
yeah, not a
I think part of
fragile-
it is his English is bad too, so it's really hard for him to express himself. But I'd say generally he has that harsh personality, that the killer mentality kind of thing. He's always kind of had that look and feel to him. But I don't know. I don't think it's his true nature. Like, he was a hairdresser, he's a cook, he's a great father from what I've seen in the embedded episodes. But I mean, going back to the predictions, because of Henry Cejudo, he's triple C, man. He's triple C. Figueredo had some excuses. Maybe he's not meant for this weight. He's a little bit bigger. So it might be a problem for him going forward. But I think in this fight, he's got Cejudo. Cejudo is going to tell him exactly how to condition, exactly how to have a great game plan. So I think it's going to be Figueredo by decision. That's my call.
Yeah, I mean, one of Figueretto's weak points in this fight was the grappling, right? Moreno was able to take down Figueretto at will. So yeah, Triple C should position Figueretto to prevent that from happening going forward. Makes sense. I mean, what Moreno brought to the table was that inside boxing, the phone booth warfare. He was throwing some pretty good kicks as well, and both of them were throwing kicks, and the takedowns. And I don't know, there's something about Moreno's, like, he has a different type of fluidity, like once the grappling is engaged. I mean, overall, I feel like Figueretto has more of a, what do you call it? His Figueretto's fluidity is sort of like in chunks,
in and out,
in slices.
I see.
Like he's fluid, and then it's at his pace. So boom, fluidity, engage, and then he's got to rest a little bit. Then he's fluid, and he looks fluid overall. Some of that I think might be deceptive, whereas Moreno has a functional, continuous fluidity that allows him to put himself in the positions he wants to be in.
It looks like he's better at transferring energy. Moreno, he's better at transferring the person's energy to, like, basically make a decision. Like, if someone's basically rolling onto you, use that person's energy to roll back onto them. Yeah. He seems like he has a better understanding of that, of his fluidity. But I honestly believe that Cejudo's game plan is going to help. But I don't think I think Moreno is a dog. So this is going to be a crazy fight, and that's why I'm predicting decision Figueredo. Because I feel like he's going to be more tactical in this time.
Yeah, this one could go either way, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Both the co-main event and the main event. We gotta watch this one, man. 100%.
Yeah, we do. Next time, maybe we're gonna stream some events live from your dojo. We can do some breakdown analysis with some examples who can show on the pads, right?
I would like that. Yeah, we'll see how that one goes, but I'm always down to try new things for sure. I just hope CJ attends that one, aka Easy Breezy.
I'll try, jokes. Man. I'll do my best to get back to normal, get better. recover, and yeah, start up again. You know, start up my life.
Mhm.
But this is brutal right now, so yeah, I just got to deal with it day by day.
Yeah. Just regarding that, since we're on the topic of health, we went back into it. I recently got,
Gratefulness, health, right?
yeah, I recently got this CBD oil at the request of at the suggestion of my sensei. I meet up with my sensei every Saturday morning. We have one-on-ones together. So he takes CBD oil with to combat his arthritis. So I got this for my mom. She's got arthritis as well. But I was like, maybe I should try CBD oil as well. But yeah, have you? Sorry, go ahead.
Can I kind of go into this topic because I have to leave? I have to go in 5 minutes, so I just wanted to say my part, and I'll let you two guys take over the rest of the podcast.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you guys?
Sure, man.
Yes.
Yeah, we appreciate you being able to stay this long. I know we're over time anyway.
Yeah, so I guess what we want to talk about is, I guess most thing I'm grateful is health, family, but most of all, and I want to link it to Francis Ngannou's story, and we talked about it a lot. And anyone who has the ability to watch this podcast should be grateful for the ability and the opportunities that we have to pursue our dreams. If Francis Ngannou's story is an example of how even when he faced insurmountable odds, he's held on to his dreams. So let's be grateful for those opportunities. And let's obviously first try to work on things that we can control and try to help things we can control. But we have to remember that once you hold on to your dream or a goal, it could be having a better health lifestyle. It could be start small. It could even be something big because it can be achievable. So it's always good to remember that and to have a dream. And I'm grateful that I have the ability to have those dreams, and it's not as hard as for others. So that's what I'm grateful for, and I guess that's going to be my last message. I gotta go, guys. Everybody stay tuned. Have a good one. Peace.
Where's the man? Thanks for joining us, man. Have a good remainder of your day.
Yeah,
Really
thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Bye.
No problem.
Thanks. See you later, CJ.
Take care, man.
Peace. All right. Yeah, Chris, it's just you and I, man.
Yeah. So since we're on the topic of gratitude, I wanted to also say, like, I'm also grateful for, the close connections, family, friends, just pretty much being able to wake up every day and, try to function as best as I can. Even though, some days it's really hard to like do things, even things that I used to be able to do, like it's like much harder to do now. So yeah, I'm very happy that I'm still able to do certain things. I honestly thought that like I actually wouldn't, make it through this like time because it
Wow.
was so bad at certain points.
Are you talking? You're not talking about the past week, right? You were talking about more the last couple of years.
Yeah, the last couple of years, just in combination with everything that's happened, uh, it was really hard. And I just like I'm just amazed that I'm still here to be able to do the things that I'm able to do.
Mm.
So yeah.
Dude, yeah, big time. I mean, from the time that we've spent together here and there in the last couple of years, I know you've been reinforcing a lot of those things and reinforcing the importance of gratitude and appreciation for even the smallest things that we have available to us in our lives.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some of those examples just now. Just waking up early in the morning, right? Being able to get a good night's sleep. Yeah, connections. Sorry,
Yeah, I was gonna say just like just being alive, pretty much, um, But even though like sleep and stuff has been pretty rough as well, like just getting up is a big deal.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to add that.
Hmm. Yeah, our life
Yeah.
force, our animating life force is still in effect, and it should not be thrown to waste. Um, but do you mind
No,
talking?
definitely not, man.
Yeah, have there been improvements? I know you and I have been in touch, but I guess since we're on the call, perhaps some people would be interested. Have there been improvements in the last couple of years since it first started? And you can, if you're welcome to talk about like how it started as well and what exactly it is. I think that would be interesting.
So it's a really, really long story that I think needs another like episode
Mm,
to be able to explain the entire story to you guys. But it initially started 2 years ago where I've taken these supplements by mistake, thinking that it would help me out with my energy because I was always feeling very tired and fatigued, and um, I wasn't able to think properly and be able to function every day that, to the level that I wanted to. So I decided to take it and see if it was going to help me, and it actually backfired pretty hard. And yeah, I started to feel like all these like weird symptoms that I never felt in my life. And it started from that point on. It's been chronic symptoms, but over time the symptoms have changed gradually, and some of the symptoms have gone away, and other symptoms like have also come into play. So it's yeah, it's really hard to tell if I'm actually getting better because it does bother me almost to the extent that it initially bothered me in the beginning,
that's from
where
time
I
to
just
time,
have to
right?
lay down. Yeah, it's like intermittent, but it happens every day.
Yeah.
And I can go into the list of symptoms, but I think for this episode, um, we're already over the time, so we should probably close it off,
Mm,
and I'll get into it in other episodes.
yeah. Um, no, man. I greatly appreciate you sharing and opening up on these things and being vulnerable. Um, yeah, being your very close friend and since high school and
Yeah,
all the time we've spent together since then, through whether it was through online gaming or just hanging out in person and kicking a soccer ball around, to a lot of different things. Um, but yeah,
yeah,
no, I think it would be worth you sharing that with everyone. Um, it's a very important story for yourself, and uh, I think it could be used for inspiration and learning opportunities,
mhm.
gratitude and appreciation opportunities for anyone listening as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Once you like lose your health, you start to see things differently, and I just started to get more of an appreciation for little things that I would overlook in the past, and those are lessons that I've learned.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
So with that said, I mean, I guess we can talk about what the supplement was and all those details next session, or if you want, you could bring it up this session as well, but I want to respect your time at the same time. Um, but with that said, I think you mentioned there have been improvements since it first started a couple of years ago, but there have also been introduction of new symptoms as well, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Um, Overall, the same, better, or worse?
Overall, uh, it's hard to say. I would
Hmm,
say it's the same,
I see.
but just different symptoms. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, because sometimes I've seen you within the last couple of years. You look good. You look like energized. Um, you're sort of in tune. And then a couple other times I've seen you where it looks like, you know, you really need to get some sleep, or you sort of look like a zombie, and you've like forced yourself to come out for coffee or for a little drive or whatever. So as you're saying, it's intermittent, right? Some times of the day, and it's not always the same time, you are feeling good, and then sometimes you're not feeling good. And the symptoms when you're not feeling good are different each time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I know you've struggled sometimes to try to explain it as well, because it's all so intermittent and so different as well. But I think your explanations have improved over time. More recently, it's hard to describe certain like pains that we feel, right? Like a pain, like even from working out, just from working out, the injuries. I know it's a completely different example, but might be relevant. When we get an injury from working out, how do we explain what that injury is, or to someone else that wants to learn more about it?
Absolutely.
I mean, I am by no means an expert or even knowledgeable, even slightly knowledgeable about, you know, some of these symptoms and ailments. And that's another thing you can talk about regarding your experience with doctors, as you try to explain to the doctors what you're feeling and how a lot of times it's dismissed. I think that's a valuable experience to share with the world. So
yeah, I would say it's just a journey, man. So you know, you just, the best thing to do is just take care of your health in the beginning, and just keep it that way if you can.
Just be proactive, right?
Yeah, do what you can do, and don't take random stuff without doing your research.
Yes. Well, maybe I'll be careful about this little thing that I got from it's medically prescribed in this case, that's CBD, but no, I don't know, one drop at a time, I guess. Yeah, very cool, man. So yeah, as you were saying, we're overboard at the moment with regards to the time. We're hitting almost an hour and a half now.
Oh wow.
So yes,
Went by quickly.
Yeah, Chris, man, you're the man for attending this. I know you weren't exactly sure if you were going to attend. Glad you were able to.
I decided like just like 20 minutes before it started, so I'm glad I was able to join in and see you guys.
Yeah, same here, and Perwiz felt that way too. But otherwise, yeah, perhaps we should close this one out, and we'll sync up again next week. And yeah, I think next week might be a good time to get into some of those. If you would like to open up further on this topic, but there's lots of topics where we can provide value, regardless. But up to you, man. I think it'd be good to share. Whatever we all want to share, we can share it, and we'll sync up on that one offline, guys.
Awesome.
Okay, so thanks everyone for joining this podcast. I'm using this new snowball mic today, aka Blue. This isn't new. This is 12, 13 years old or something. Hey, I had an idea to start a podcast many years ago, all right? I just started it. Give me a break. This was in the closet collecting dust, but at least I'm trying. I got around to it. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. And if you listen to it this far, then we appreciate it. And give us a subscribe as well. But yeah, thanks again, Chris, for joining. Man.
Thank you so much, guys. Take care, Aziz.
Peace.